So you've made it through the lie, and you know, it's not that scary. See, it's good. You're going to be fine. But now we need to talk about all of the other things, the tools that you are going to need in order to make the soapy things. And so that's what we'll be doing in part 2 of this Back to Basics, how to make the soapy things thing. And I will tell you more about all of that in just a moment. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 326 of 365 days of soap. And today, as I said, is part 2 of the Back to Basics, how to make soap from scratch, all the things. Yes. And what we are going to be talking about today is all of the extra materials and items you are going to need in order to make soap, outside of the oils and, you know, lye and colors and that thing. That will be tomorrow, for sure. But there are a lot of tools that you need and a lot of things that you may not have. And so let's get to that, and we will talk about all of the random tools that you are going to have to acquire in order to make your very first batch of soap. Okay, so first up is obviously going to be your safety gear, which we talked about yesterday. So a good pair of nitrile gloves. You don't need to go super thick with your heavy-duty kitchen gloves, as we discussed yesterday too. You're also going to want to have a good pair of safety glasses to protect those eyeballs, because without your eyeballs, there is no more making soap. You're also going to need a good digital scale. I recommend getting a scale that goes back at least 2 decimal points here for precise measurements. This particular scale I have been using the same brand of for 8 years. I have taught tens of thousands of people with them using this. I use this in my videos. It is a great scale. I want to say it's $10 on Amazon. For sure, something like this is a really good scale to have. You are also going to need your thermometer. I think I bought this one more than 10 years ago, and it still works beautifully, but you are going to want this in order to check the temperature of your oils, of your lye solution, of all manner of things, really. And so make sure to get yourself a nice infrared thermometer. I think that one was around $25. In addition to this, you are going to need different types of containers with which to put your soap and things in. This is a dollar store container. It works really well for mixing of the soapy things, for sure. The handle, it's not super sturdy, right? And so if you fill this entire thing with oil, there's no guarantee that this handle isn't going to break off, essentially. So that is an option if that's something that you prefer over glass. Another option, a lot of little containers that are heat safe and a thick plastic. You are going to be using these for perhaps your lye solution for small batches of soap. You will use these for mixing your colorants in and pouring out the soap batter so you can do pours. You will use these for your fragrance oils or your essential oils. That is another thing to really make sure that you have a nice durable plastic for, because if you're using something like a Dixie cup or a thin-walled plastic, your essential oils or your fragrance oils both will eat right through them, and you're going to end up with a mess all over your table. So something like this is a great idea. This is also great because it has the volume on the side, so it gives you a nice guideline. I got a 12 pack of these on Amazon for, I want to say, 18 doll hairs. See, I since have bought tons of these because they are so handy for all the things. I also use these to teach in classes, and also lots and lots of different sizes of Pyrex, depending on what you are making, how big your batch is. This is obviously a 16 ounce, and so it makes it a little tight for even a 1 pound batch of soap because you're right up at the top, and it's going to make it difficult to mix everything at the bottom. But lots of different versions of these, definitely a good thing. You really want containers in a lot of different sizes because you are going to be doing lots of different things with them and measuring out all manner of different things. Those are your containers. What else you need is skewers are a lifesaver for me. I personally love using bamboo skewers for most everything. I mix my lye water with them. I do obviously swirls with these. You can run the side of the mold with these. These are great to have in your arsenal as well, in addition to popsicle sticks. Popsicle sticks work the same way. They're just, shorter. Another thing that you should have in your arsenal is a good whisk. Now, whisking soap past an emulsion or mixing in your colors or your scents or whatnot, any of your additives, is going to be something that you do quite often. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a good quality whisk that will not, the pieces here will not pop out right in the middle of making soap, because that's unfortunate. And also, if you do a silicone lined one, make sure to look at your silicone every once in a while to ensure that there aren't any holes, no degradation. In addition to that, a nice spatula. Now, a spatula is going to be really important for scraping all of the soapy goodness out of these containers, because we don't ever want to waste soap batter. One of the things that you're going to need right away when you first start is a stick blender. You're going to want a good immersion blender. As you can see, this one is obviously one of my favorites because it is definitely worn, definitely used. This particular brand, the Hamilton Beach, has lasted the longest out of all the stick blenders I've ever purchased. I like that it has a flat head here and not the wavy pattern, because I feel like it introduces less air into the entire batch of soap, but that's your preference as to what you want to do with that. One of the things I really love about this that you should definitely keep in mind is there needs to be a detachable head. You are going to want to detach this multiple times, not only to clean, obviously, but also when you are scraping the soap batter into your container so you can continue on with your pour. You don't want it connected to power. Again, this Hamilton Beach one, I want to say it's maybe 20 doll hairs, and you can find that on Amazon or all of the online things. Love this stick blender for sure. Definitely my favorite. As far as the making of the soap, the mixing of the soap, that is almost good. One of the things that you're definitely going to need are towels. Lots and lots and lots of towels. Towels are important, obviously, for the cleanup process, not only if you spill some oil or you get stuff on your counters, but also something like this, like a good microfiber towel. It is great for going in after you've poured all your soap and you just have the sort of remains of your soap on your container, and just wipe everything out before you go to wash it, so that's less, raw soap batter that's going down your drains. Towels, very, very important. Now, let's talk molds. Now, technically speaking, you can make almost anything a mold. This is a container that I picked up at one of the craft stores. It used to have a handle on it. It was like a mini bucket, round soaps out of that for sure. You can use PVC pipe for round soaps. You can use milk cartons to create a soap and pour it into. That's great too. If you're going the silicone route, there are obviously some options here. These are both available at Brambleberry. This one is also available at Sierra Candles, as well as online. This is going to give you a good 1 pound batch of soap. This is going to give you, about 2.5 pounds of soap. So 34 ounces of oils easily fit in a container like this, giving you 10 bars. This will give you 4. And the soaps that you can make in these ones are going to be wide. So they are going to be wider than they are tall. Another option, if you want a taller bar, would be something like this. Now, this will get you 12 full bars of soap, and it is what is known as like a tall and skinny mold, and it will give you 1-inch bars that look like this. So again, tall, which is also a good option Another option is one of these guys. I swear every soap maker that I've ever known or seen or whatever has one of these. I want to say they're like $10 on Amazon, which is a killer deal. Also, this would be like a 34 ounce of oil, mold. It's a great deal, but you see how flimsy this is. In order to actually use this and pour stuff in it and keep it from bowing out, you're going to ultimately have to make a container for it to go in. And if you are not particularly handy and don't know how to make, a secondary mold for your silicone mold to go in, I recommend getting one of these other options, just making sure that they have the extra support here so they can be used on their own without an actual secondary bracer mold. That said, this size mold, this will get you, again, 10 bars, and it will get you bars that are kind of the standard expected size of, soap. And so that's another option. Now, if you want to, you can always go the tray mold option. There are tons of tray molds, and there are pros and cons to, tray molds versus pouring in a slab or a loaf mold. For the beginner purposes, it seems like everybody always wants to do a swirl. And when you're doing individual tray molds, swirls are a little bit harder to come by. That's why I would recommend starting out with something like this. This is a good 1 pound batch, give you 4 bars of soap, and you can practice your techniques in something like this. Again, making sure that it has the reinforcements so it doesn't bow when you are pouring your soap. And one of the final things that you're going to need in the process is something to cut your soap with. Now, I recommend going ahead and getting, a proper cutter almost immediately if you're going to be doing this often, because cutting by hand will always be the biggest hassle in your soap making journey, and not something that you're going to want to do because you can never cut straight. Miter boxes historically do not work very well. If you insist on doing a hand cut, just a nice, big blade like this without serration on the edge, or even something like a dough scraper can get it in some cases. Assuming your bar is not too tall, this could also work as well. And realistically, that's kind of it. There's not really a lot that's needed with making soaps. So, bonus, you may have some of this stuff laying around. Yeah, so as far as materials go, there's really not a lot that goes into it. You really don't need a ton. You obviously need heat-safe containers in various sizes for all the things that you're going to be using containers for in the mixing of the soapy things. You are going to need a good durable mold. Again, you can make a mold out of almost anything. So I have molds out of PVC pipe for my shampoo bars et al. I primarily use wood soap molds that are custom made to my sizes that I then line with freezer paper, shiny side up. That's an option too. But really, if you're going to be just playing and starting out, I really do recommend just getting a silicone mold, a 1 pound silicone mold to start with. It's going to be the easiest thing for you to pour in, the easiest thing for you to unmold, all of the things. As far as a stick blender goes, again, make sure that you get one with a detachable head. That's going to be very important because they do tend to wear faster than the stainless steel ones. But yeah, there's, like I said, not a lot to it. You may actually have some of this stuff lying around your house. Speaking of lying around your house, I very much do encourage you to, if you are starting the soapy journey, everything that you use for soap, just go ahead and earmark that and put it in its own separate drawer or a box or whatever. And that is now for soap forever and ever. Technically, it's all going to be fine. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with using a, whisk that you used for soap to then, after you've washed it, use to make a meringue. But just for peace of mind, just in case something happens, I do recommend just separating. You have this for this task and this for your food task, and that is it. But yeah, not a lot really goes into all the materials that you're going to need. And most of these things you can get from Amazon, you can get from the dollar store. It's a fairly easy process to source all of the materials that you'll need with which to make the soap. I hope you guys found this informative. For everything that I've talked about, again, I'll put everything in the description below, the things that I have found work the best throughout all of this and where I got them. So feel free to check that out. Coming up next in all of this is going to be the other part of the soap making, the oils. How we select our oils, where we source our oils, all of those things. So Stay tuned for that. That is part 3. Thank you so much for joining me for this and part 2 and all of the jazz. Subscribe if you want. So much work goes into all of these things that it's nice to see a little like, you know, that's cool. Thank you. Helps with the algorithm a lot. For the sudsers that do like the things and share the things and watch the things and subscribe to the things, thank you. You are all the things to me. I appreciate you. I'm out of here for today, but I will see you guys all again tomorrow for part 3 of this Back to Basics round of soapy fun. Bye.